Moin moin and hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another IM review, and today for you I have the Kiwiears X Crinacle Singolo. Yes, way too late to the party because I never thought this would be worth it, and some time ago it was then very cheap, so I had ordered this bad boy, and today we finally check out if this collab actually was worth it or not. First, as usual, packaging accessories. There's a box, it's relatively slim, you slide it out like this, and for whatever reason, there's some specs, but no graph here, even for Crin is the graph guy, so that's a bit weird, and we check out later why that is, probably. Packaging, just as are all other Kiwiears products, so like matte black cardboard, medium thickness, easy to slide out. Then on the inside, here would be RVM and some foam. This here would be the accessories, of which we get basically nothing. We do get a set of ear tips here with wider outlet. We do get a set of ear tips with less wide outlet. They are both pretty squishy, not that great honestly. And that's about it. So for original asking price, it's definitively a bit minimalistic. And I would like to see the carrying case, maybe give us some longer ear tips. Because, yeah, we tackle actually comfort and fit later. But first, let's talk about the IM build. And I can already give you a quick summary for this one here. This actually is a well-built IEM. This is solid resin overall. There isn't much to complain generally. It feels nice in the hand. It's solid. It looks good. There's no real big complaint I have. And yeah, this in the details here, the nozzle, as you can see here, is integrated well. There's absolutely no issue with it. It doesn't rock. It seems like it has an additional structure element at the bottom. And at the back here, the faceplate, as you can see, also looks nice, and I mean there isn't an R indicator I could see here. The cable also, as you can see, does not come with any, so you really need to then dig for this R printing here, and I do prefer color coding at the IEM generally. So for this price point being, I think this is a well built IEM. It is solid resin, as I said, so it feels nice in the hand. And then next we talk about the cable, and let me first try to untangle this a bit because this was in my transport pouch, so it looks a bit weird. And also cable wise, I don't know, it is decent if you consider that I got this for 27 bucks, but if you consider the original asking price, it's really not that great. The cable is on the thinner side, it is a bit tangly while not being too tangly, and mostly smooth would be how I describe it, but yeah, if you just put it in your boxes and somewhere, it will tangle a bit, and I just wish it would be a bit thicker overall. And the chin slider, let me see if I can untangle this mess here. Chin slider, as I said, also my unboxing, this doesn't have any friction, so really it slides off just if you just shake it a bit even. Not nice. And also somehow in day-to-day life, which is not noted in my written review here, but I will say it, I do get some pressure hotspots with this cable. I think kind of this area here somewhere at the back. So I'm not the greatest fan of this cable overall. Other cables definitely do come off as more comfortable to my ear. Even for this should be relatively light. And also bending radius not too small. But just doesn't work so great for me. And another thing to note here, check out this. Both sides. Why is this darkened? I don't know. I don't think it came darkened. I need to check my review, my unboxing again. But this is also a bit weird here. Not sure what's going on. Next, we tackle comfort and fit. And this is a relatively small IEM. So it should basically fit all ears. And it has some decent contouring going on, as you can see here. And also the nozzle being short should help. But this is one of those rare cases where actually, I have to say, it is a bit too short, the nozzle. Even for me who has small ears, I have to say this is just a bit too short. I generally prefer a bit bigger tips, like here the TR&T ear tip. That's a bit big for S. Work better for me, or longer tips, but the tips this is included with, I can totally see why people struggle with this. Just insert so shallowly. I don't know, it's not enough. I should have definitely included deep tips to make this work, or get some weird tip shape to get this to fit right. Because yeah, this is a really short nozzle, and with most tips I have, I had the same problem that Andrew from headphones.com. That is just pushed itself out of my ear over the course of like 10-15 minutes. I would notice it does when my ear, when this is like mounted like this, it does whoop, and just plops out of my ear over sometimes. I'm like, this is weird. But even with good tips, like the liquid silicone ear tips, I still get the feeling this plops out of my ear over time. I would say like 30 minutes or something like that. So, I mean, not that great. One of my theories here is that the nozzle, because it's short, but it's relatively wide at the end. It's 6.5 at the lip and 5.3 beneath. I have the feeling this could create some unequal pressure distribution here that then also pushes IEM tips or the IEM out of your ear a bit, but I'm not sure about this, so this is really just speculation. So yeah, while it can be comfortable, again, the cable, as I said before, does create some pressure hotspots for me. I just don't think it's a secure fitting IEM. For that, the nozzle is too short or too wide or both. So yeah, then next, isolation, and as I said, it's a rather small IEM, so I did not expect this to isolate that nicely, and yeah, it also doesn't isolate that well. For an, I want to say, like short nozzle IEM like this with this sizing, it's totally fine. Like, you won't have many issues with this, but honestly, I wouldn't wear this on busy roads outside. For that, this isolation is not good enough. And with some foam tips, you can probably get it to work, but also with foams, it just pushed itself out of my ear too early, so I just can't give you a full picture of isolation here, because yeah, it's just not secure fitting well enough for me to say it does isolate pretty well. Just doesn't work if you are in commute and you're on the rain road and you walk and then suddenly 5 minutes later it's out of here. It's like, like, okay, I'd rather take in secure fitting a silicone tip or more secure one that doesn't isolate that well, but at least stays a bit better in my ear. So yeah, that's it. Then next, drivability, and this is, as you can nicely see through the casing here, again, a shout out to this optics. I really like when you can actually see the IEM, when you can see its details, its insides. To quote a famous German novel from, I don't know, like 1740 or something like that, was die Welt im Innersten zusammenhält. Basically means what keeps the world together on its deepest level. And yeah, I like to see the details of my IEM here as well. Yeah, so this clocks in at 32 ohms at 108 decibels, so it's absolutely normally drivable and you don't really need to worry about anything. And I have to say, even on random ass dongles, it got definitively loud enough. And I would say on the USB-C from Apple, you get like 90% of that this is capable of. And then you up the power to something like the UP5 or something similar. You do get, I think, slightly better imaging, maybe ever so slightly better bass, but it's really not a lot. And so don't worry about drivability. This will do just fine. Next, general sound characteristics, and this can be described as a U-shaped or W-shaped even according to measurements here, depending on how you define those. And I will mostly compare this to Nuo and to 02, because at 27 bucks where I got this is the closest competition. And I will also tell you, mostly in the technicality department, this is also where it kind of trades blows. I don't think it would be originally priced at like 70 bucks or 60. I don't think it would be that competitive at this price point. I think like, yeah, the $30 price point, that's where it would be competitive. And yeah, measurement wise, let me just quickly open it for myself. Yes, it does graph at least kind of in the same ballpark that you would also see Nuo or Singolo be graphing. So that means you do get a peak past 10K and you do get a peak at like 9K. That's basically the gist of the treble here. But unlike Nuo or 02, you don't get a peak at 2.5K. Here you get a peak at 3.5K. And I have to say, while this is fine for over ears, I've definitely heard some where I was like 3.5K, whoa, that's working. For IEMs, it just doesn't work for me. To give you a summary of the overall treble, the entire treble department to me comes off. The cymbals in e-guitars, for instance, they just sound kind of unnatural to me and not really enjoyable, so I didn't really listen to metal or new metal of Singolo too much. Just wasn't so great. Definitively 02 or Nuo do way better in that, and I would take this at every day of the week. Orchestra and dress, definitely a bit better with the Singolo, but again, I would just take 02 and Nuo just every day of the week. And the 3.5K peak also has a slight disadvantage. It means compared to Nuo and the Singolo, or also the 02, it just comes a bit off, as I want to say, like thin, a bit recessed in the upper mids. Not like ultra recessed like dark IEMs would be, but definitively a bit dampened, and I'm not a greatest fan of this. I have a couple of vocal songs in my library, Caged Bird from Eli Arson, for instance, Depressive Ghosts from Nightcrawler, or Never Fade Away from the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack. The vocalist there is just too much gone, it's too much pushed to the back, and I'm not the greatest fan of this tuning overall. Bringing me then to the mids, and I mean, you can see per graph this is lightly W-shaped here. And somehow so, I'm still not convinced by the overall tuning here. It is clear enough and they have a decent enough body, but somehow they're kind of unnatural sounding to my ear. And I'm constantly basically fiddling with the volume wheel to get this to sound right to me. Because either it's just not loud enough, or then suddenly it's too loud and it doesn't really pop as much as I want vocals to come off, especially in combination with the weird treble department and then also, yeah, the bass department later. Although giving to bass here to get the transition done, there's basically zero bass bleed going on. It's a very nicely defined bass, very well controlled, very impactful, and generally this is an awesome bass. If this would be one reason why to buy Singolo, honestly the bass, it's really nice. Like I don't know if it's the tuning what makes the bass pop or if it's the driver that does make the bass pop, but yeah, definitively for the price point of 27 bucks the bass is amazing. And even below 100 I would say, yeah, damn, this is a very nice bass. It's technical enough, like planars definitely would beat it. But again, we are not talking about a planar here. It punches, it has some rattle, it's very well controlled overall. And yeah, I really like the bass representation here. Even the amount of mid bass for me is definitively more than enough. Even in some rock or metal tracks, for instance Papa Roach or Linkin Park, or even Synthwave, for instance Venator, Dance with the Dead or Nightcrawler, they all work totally fine in the mid bass department here. It's just very well defined overall. Definitely there will be people who will be like, this has the bass tuck effect. I never found this too problematic for my ear, and here I also don't have it that much. So if you know you have this issue, you will have it with this one as well. But I personally didn't. And yeah, overall in the sub-bass department, as you can see by graph, it extends all the way to 20 Hz. And that means you do get in my benchmark tracks Interstellar's Mountains, there's a bass drop starting at like 2 minutes 10 to all the way 2 minutes 15, where it's about 20 Hz. This manages 2 minutes 15, and not much more, I would say. Some really good IMs manage like 2 minutes 16 with some rattle where you really know, oh, there's some energy. Well, here it's exactly 2 minutes 15 basically, which is good, but not amazing. And then coming to the other technicalities here, soundstage layering and imaging. I mean, yeah, there isn't much to speak of in soundstage to my ear overall. I wouldn't describe as claustrophobic either, but it's just not big. And the instruments, I mean, yeah, it images well enough, but again, it's not amazing. And combined with just 3 layers, overall in this department there isn't much going on. It is more on the 27 buck department here than what I paid for this, when, yeah, the original pricing would indicate. And then separation dynamics and coherence. And I would say really coherence and timbre is definitely a weak point of the Singolo overall. As I said before, the treble just sounds weird. The mids don't really match the treble overall. And then the bass department, while sounding nice, I somehow have the feeling it just is not a coherent presentation from bass to treble overall. And that combined with dynamics that are, I would say, decent, and the separation that is good enough, I think you're overall fine in all the overall technicality department here, but again, I just think the Nuo does still do a bit better overall. And that brings me then to a verdict. I have to say, so far the Crinacle collabs I have seen and the Crinacle collabs I've heard, they're not amazing, and this one is no exception. I would say this might be the weakest Crinacle collab you can buy at the moment. The tuning is just not that great for Crinacle. Sure, it was supposed to be a proof of concept, but again, it's sold. It was sold for normal people. So I wouldn't really say that it's a proof of concept if you sell a product. And you do see that the resonator actually is working, which is cool because the bass for single DIM is amazing, like amazingly defined. But for the original asking price of, I think, like 60 to 70 bucks or what it was, it's just not competitive. I don't think it ever was competitive at this price point. It never will be. But if you find this set now at the moment for like 27 bucks, is not bad. It definitely is a unique tuning for that. But as I also said before, at every day of the week, I would take Nuo or 02 over this. Probably Nuo because I like that a bit more, but Hex 02 is also very nicely sounding. And I also think that honestly Singolo might potentially be slightly more detailed than Nuo, question mark, but you would be hard pressed to find this. They are both very similar in terms of detail retrieval out there. And that then combined with Nuo having better tuning or 02, I just don't see much point in Singolo. Like, yeah, cool as a proof of concept, but maybe then just ship it out to a few reviewers and call it a day. Like, put it in an IEM where it makes sense, where the overall tuning is better than this one. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Questions, recommendations, or criticisms, please leave a comment. Donspektor out.